Hello, Steve White, Trekkies89 for Steve White's 89. Well, LeVar Burton was on The View, and he was talking about a few things like being on Jeopardy, wanting to be the permanent host, whether he would appear on Picard as Geordie LaForge, and of course Meghan McCain, stirring up trouble, asked him what he thought about the Dr. Seuss books being cancelled, which they weren't, and cancel culture in general. And he sort of said, well, I've been dealing with a bunch of Dr. Seuss books, and there's a lot more to him than just those books that they chose to take off the bookshelves. And he talked about cancel culture and said, I think that's misnamed. I think it's a misnomer. Basically, it's consequence culture that we're dealing with, and I think it's a good thing because there's a lot of people who have never had to deal with consequences in America, and now we are in a society that is making people have consequences for the first time ever, and it's a good thing. And I didn't even think about this. I did a video about him talking about Geordie LaForge, and I put it up, and then the next thing I know, no one cares about that. Everyone's talking about him talking about cancellation, consequence culture, and sort of going against the narrative of cancel culture. And I think, like most things, there are extremes, and I think there are some people who are, into cancel culture. They do want to actually cancel people out of vengeance and pettiness and their own agendas and politics. But then there's also actual consequences for things that you do. And, like people like Gina Carano, who said a bunch of things her boss didn't like, so they fired her. That was a consequence. That wasn't cancel culture. I mean, I've joked about her being cancelled and cancel culture and cancel Gina Carano, but she wasn't cancelled. She was fired because, well, she wasn't fired. She wasn't hired onto the project she was going to be hired onto because her employee didn't want to work with her because they didn't like her politics, because they did not match their politics. So that wasn't a good fit. That she was going to be actively promoting the opposite of what they were trying to promote, and the people they were trying to attract. She was going to be not attacking, but speaking about things that they wouldn't want to hear about. So I thought it was really interesting, and it's something I've heard of plenty of times. I didn't think twice about it. I understand the concept of consequence culture. I understand the idea of free speech has consequences. You have free speech, but you also have consequences, and you have these people who think that if there are consequences to free speech, then you're being censored. And I'm like, no, there's consequences. If you say something racist, homophobic, misogynistic, ignorant, you'll probably get called out for it, and there'll be a consequence. That's just how it works, and that's fair. So I don't have any problem with it, but unfortunately a lot of Star Trek fans do. Now, why they have a problem with consequences? Because, I mean, surely you want to take responsibility for your actions, so I don't know why they'd have any issues with consequences and consequence culture. And cancel culture is a bad thing. It does exist in some fringes as an extreme element of something that is normal in society, which is having consequences for your actions. And I think for a little while there was this bubble in social media where you could say or do whatever you wanted and there were no consequences. And then people started to make people accountable for things and started to pull things up that people said and say, oh, no, remember when you said this? No, that didn't just go off into the ether. We remember that. And whether that was a little unfair because people didn't know that was going to happen, but the point was they said it. They shouldn't have said it. Now they want to apologise, be redeemed, that's fine. There's also forgiveness, like Mecca was saying. Where's a culture of forgiveness? Well, we have that, but you have to acknowledge you did something wrong and apologise for it. You can't just not want to have consequences and be forgiven for things without actually apologising or taking responsibility for them. So I thought that was really interesting that so many people got bothered by that and got triggered by that. And I'm like, that kind of makes sense. If you don't want consequences, you don't want to take responsibility for things, then of course you'd be threatened by the idea of a consequence culture, or a culture where there are consequences for your actions. And I think there are a lot of people who, they want to continue saying and doing bad things, and being racist, sexist, homophobic, misogynistic, hateful, and they don't want consequences for it because they enjoy it, they get something out of it, they get rewarded for it. And the idea of having that taken away, or having, consequences for it, and not being able to just do that and not be hateful, threatens a lot of people, because I guess they feel that's where a lot of their power is. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought, damn it, I'm going to do another video on the same interview that I watched, because I didn't think, it didn't trigger me, so I didn't think of it. And now I see all these people getting triggered everywhere. Like Doomcock is like, I can no longer be a fan of Geordie LaForge anymore, blah, 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 because, Geordie, LeVar Burton thinks people should, suffer their consequences, and I kind of agree with that. Now, I've done and said a few dumb things in my life, and I'm willing to apologise for them and change and grow, and that's kind of what life is. So, yeah, I had to say something about that, because I thought it was absolutely fascinating that all these people were getting triggered, and because I didn't get triggered by it, I didn't even realise it was going to be an issue and something people would talk about. So there we go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think of cancel culture. And I'm just really happy I got through this interview, because I started to get a migraine, I was losing my sight, and I still am managing to do this, so good. I'm going to go before I do lose my vision. Thanks, bye.